to today's session. I'm Gemma Margerison, the Resilience and Recovery Coach, and I'm joined today by the lovely Kathryn Jeacock. Hi, Kathryn.
Hello, Gemma. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
All good, all good.
Fantastic. Kathryn, would you mind just starting off by telling us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Okay, yeah. So as Gemma said, I'm Kathryn Jeacock and I run DBKT Coaching. I'm a HR and learning and development professional. So I work with organisations to create sustained change and equip them with the tools to collaborate, problem solve and lead in the 21st century. So I do that through team coaching, action learning, one-to-one coaching, training workshops, and also HR support.
Wow, keeps you busy.
Yeah.
Just to pick up on a couple of the things that you've sort of said there, would you mind telling us a little bit more about action learning and what that is? Because I don't think that's something that's very commonly talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something I'm completely nerdy and very passionate about. So interesting enough, when I was working within HR in my early HR career, when people mentioned action learning, I would roll my eyes. And typically that's the reaction that a lot of people in the UK have. And I think it's because there's lots of different flavours and experiences of action learning that people have had.
Mm-hmm.
I work with the World Institute for Action Learning, and I'm actually a global award winner in the action learning. So that was a very proud moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really powerful problem solving tool. So essentially, if you've got a complex, urgent, real problem, action learning is great for that. So there's a quote from Einstein that says, if you've got a problem, he would spend something like, and he only had an hour to solve it, he would spend the first 55 minutes understanding what the real problem was. And then once you understand that, you only need 5 minutes to come up with a solution. And that is so true. And that's what action learning really does. It gets to the real crux of what's the problem. Because so often we're rushing to solutions and we want to be solutions focused. But actually, when you spend that time in that really uncomfortable space exploring a problem, then, the solutions come really quickly. It's a really inclusive session. You have a range of people. It needs to be a minimum of 4 or a maximum of 8. And you use some simple rules around asking questions and only responding in statements. And that keeps us really focused on the problem and makes us really concise in what we're saying. So we're not trying to lead from that expert base of sort of telling people what we think they should do with their problem. And then it's facilitated by a team coach who doesn't get involved in the problem solving, but is focused on how that team can really perform at its best in the time that they've got. And also, most importantly, is developing those fundamental skills around problem solving that leaders need for this wonderful, complex world that we're in at the moment. But I could talk for ages, but yeah, that's just a snippet of action learning.
It sounds amazing, and it sounds like it aligns really well to the work that you do with teams and leaders within organizations.
Yeah, it really embeds those skills. So I'm such a practical person. And again, having worked in HR, learning transfer is really important when you're engaging on learning and development initiatives. And action learning is just perfect at embedding those coaching, listening, asking courageous questions. It's really good at really embedding skills that are transferable back into the workplace.
Fab. So how did that move happen for you then, from working in HR to becoming kind of a full-time coach?
Yeah, I don't know where to begin really. So so I'm going to go back to my school days, because school wasn't for me. I was there for the people. I was there for the social environment. I wasn't academic at all. And I was in that average middle. So we were kind of invisible, me and my group of friends. So we were able to, have a whale of a time at school, which was nothing to do with academia. And there was a lot of pressure at that time to go into university, but just university wasn't for me. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I went straight out into the world of work. At one point, I had about 3 different jobs, just trying to understand what it is that I wanted to do. And it was a manager that I came across that actually saw something in me. She nurtured some, my people skills and my social skills, and helped me to start my career in HR. And as soon as I found HR, I went to night school to do all my HR qualifications. And I was so driven, because it was like, yes, this is people, this is what I'm really passionate about. And for the last 15 years, I've been so driven and so focused on my HR career. I've purposely generalized, worked in a range of industry sectors. And over the last 8 years, because of that experience, I've been able to develop my own flair of HR. And I moved into the technology sector, which encourages a lot of innovation, not just in the tech specialisms, but in all the departments. So I was able to really develop this flair I was starting to develop around HR and people at work. And I was kind of getting sick of the transactional processes that you have to churn out in HR time and time again. Most of them are actually, if we're honest, pretty inhumane. They don't actually solve problems. They typically tend to make things worse. But because, employment legislation is sort of so archaic, and organizations are still stuck in sort of the 1900s of industrial manufacturing, I was just like, there was starting to be an itch within me in terms of, I want to do something that's more around how can you really get people loving work and being themselves at work, and that's embracing, and you haven't got to fit in and squish yourself out of shape to fit these boxes that just don't feel very relevant for today's world of work. So I was very lucky when I worked at Premier Foods early on in my HR career to be introduced to coaching. So it's something that's carried with me throughout the last 15 years. And then 2 years ago, I was like, actually, I want to get some qualifications in this to just, improve myself as a HR person. I joined the MA at Oxford Brookes, and I have transformed. I'm a completely different person to who I was 2 years ago. And I met some amazing people. And I actually thought that this is where I'm getting my energy from. This is where I can really make a difference to people, and in particular teams, because teams is where my passion is. And that's when I started to get this itch in terms of, I don't just want to be based in one organisation. I want to work with lots of businesses to help them in this changing world of work. I think with COVID, it impacted us all. I think we've all had mini existential crisis of, what am I doing? What's my purpose? How am I adding value to this world? And I saw an opportunity that a lot of organisations are going to need some help with these changes. And I made the leap, and I had a coach myself who said to me, Kathryn, jump and a parachute will find you. So that's what I've done.
Amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the issues or problems sort of facing modern day teams, and how your particular flair can work with that?
Yeah. So at the moment, organisations are going through a lot of change and uncertainty, and that's not going to change. We need to get more used to living in a changing, complex, more global world that organisations are operating within. And typically we hate change, we resist it, we become very entrenched. And, you've all heard that saying, well, that's not how it used to be done, or we've always done it this way. And people can, really struggle with that change. So first and foremost is about helping organisations to deal with that change. And it's more than just cranking the wheel of a process. Actually, there's big transitions that people have to go through. And so supporting organisations with that change that's more from a person perspective rather than let's just follow the steps in a policy process. But also the world of work is changing from less hierarchy, more teams based, and moving away from that expert leadership. So a lot of the last decade has been around, I'm the expert, I need to know all the answers, and I need to lead from this expert power base, and I need to be the hero leader and rescue situations when the team get into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not sustainable anymore, because the world is too complex. It's on such a large scale, it's changing so quickly that no one person can have all of that information. So teams, where you have teams that have these different skills and expertise, and a leader is able to understand the different roles that teams play and you know, work together, that's where the future's at. But very often in organizations, when there's problems or challenges, what do? We address them on an individual basis. So let's seek out the individual that's underperforming. Let's seek out the bad apple, or let's seek out the troublemaker who may be, you know, providing a different viewpoint. And that might provide a temporary fix, but actually it's the wider environment and systems within an organization that are potentially causing the poor performance or lack of productivity or lack of engagement. So actually, by working with the larger systems, the teams, the leadership teams, the teams below the leadership, really can help to address those root cause issues, so that you're creating sustained change. But yeah, I could talk for ages, but they're the same things that I think organizations need help with.
How would you kind of advise people in terms of encouraging well-being within teams? What are your thoughts on that?
Well-being in teams, I think it's really important, because you've got organizations who are now working in a more hybrid model. They might have people working remotely and people in person, and that's a very different way of working for a team. And also there's those issues around that work-life blurring, where actually you used to have that commute where you could process your thoughts before you came home, but now, you know, you're working and living in the same spaces. So well-being is really important, and it's about making those connections. And there's a couple of things that are really important in team well-being, is about how you're connected with yourself. So are you aware about how you're feeling and what's going on for you? Are you taking that time to really reflect on the day and how you might have been reacting to certain experiences or feeling about particular experiences? So being connected to yourself. There's being connected to your team members. So are you taking time to check in with one another? One of the fundamental things that I do with team coaching is we have a check-in. So just say, okay, is that what's on people's minds that we just need other people to be aware of, if perhaps we're distracted, or you know, perhaps something's happened before the meeting, so we're not, you know, perhaps bringing our best selves here. That check-in is really important, so that you can just get an understanding from people, because so often people just rush straight into the tactical stuff without even checking in, and then certain reactions happen. You think, where's that come from? We were just talking about this. And it's because you haven't understood or taken time to understand what's going on for that person at that moment in time. So making sure you're taking time to check in with one another and know what's going on, and that also you know each other, so you know each other's strengths and weaknesses. You know their hopes and fears. You've also got that safety within the team that, you know, if you are struggling, you can say, I've dropped the ball, I need help, I've made a mistake. That's really important to have that safety within the team. And that's, you know, if you don't have that safety, that really impacts on the team's well-being. And then the third aspect is the team leader. And how is the team leader making sure that they're creating connections and they're encouraging cross collaboration, and they're checking in with their team members again in terms of understanding that person more than just the things to do that you expect them to do. So yeah, those are my things around wellbeing.
Brilliant, thank you. So how can people learn more about what you do, get in touch with you, work with you? What's the best way for that to happen?
Yes, so I have a website, which is www.dbktcoaching.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. So there's a DBKT Coaching LinkedIn page, and also you can follow me on LinkedIn. And I'm also on Instagram at DBKT Coaching.
Fantastic. Kathryn, thank you so much for your time. It's been really interesting. Really, your passion definitely kind of shows through around what you do. So thank you so much for that. Please like, please subscribe, leave a comment if you'd like to know any more, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.